basic grade, paved the way, changed the rate, released the pain, least you sane, getting paid, trend setting, brighter days, doper rap, tighter sets, high and deadly, I'm a fighter jet, journey.
What's good, everyone? We are back. Major League Pod is reloaded, dare I say. I'm Rob Kemmer of the MLW Confusion podcast, and with me, the Burgermeister of Buffalo, Muffins Martinez, back with more MLW action. We are talking about Reload this past week, the first of the premium YouTube events, is that what we're calling them now, of the new year. So hoping to start YouTube off with a bang.
I mean, this has to be like the worst idea I've ever heard from any company do something like this. Instead of going weekly like everybody else does with episodes and have your monthly pay-per-view, they decided to go, okay, well, you know, we're gonna save more money. We're gonna do a different way. We're gonna do our monthly pay-per-view, and before that, we'll do the tapings from 7 to 8, and then more tapings from 10 to 11, and then let's do it as a monthly free YouTube and Being Sports attraction. So instead of giving us the weekly shows, now it's bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks now, we get to see wrestling from MLW. So you get to see them for one Saturday a month, and then another Saturday on YouTube. I guess that's the new thing to do, I guess. So.
Yeah. And yeah, I think, and I've made my displeasure for this known because just because of MLW's business habits, we'll say that they tend not to hype things up terribly well during an off season and whatnot. And now they're having an off season like every other week. But you know, it's you know, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it's a giant negative necessarily speaking, except for like people like me who like to do content every single week. And now like I really can't do that on the MLW front, but that's my biased, you know, opinion on that one.
Look at myself. MLW, N.W.A. NWA is on a break till February 6th when everything goes into their app, CW app. And now this year, so I'm just sitting here waiting to do our shows every other week now, and now I'm uploading the old interviews into audio to hit the RSS, and everyone else who hasn't able to see our interviews on YouTube, now you can listen to them. So that's why I had to spread stuff out.
Yeah, and I will put out, you know, if we're going to cheap plug things, like I've moved on to giving a spotlight to a smaller indie every other week now too on the off weeks. So this past week I gave a shout out to Mid States Wrestling, who works primarily out of like the southern Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma area. Their show was fun to watch, and I look to continue this going on until I don't know, whenever we got something going on. But I will say, but yeah, as I said, like I don't think it'll hurt MLW business big picture. You know, maybe just to the diehards who are really trying to pay attention to and keep track of things every week. I think the only time it would probably be detrimental to the brand is if that event isn't very good or is kind of mediocre. And spoiler alert, or at least in my humble opinion, you know, I wasn't feeling this year event in terms of like the overall, I shouldn't say presentation, but just how the matches flowed and some of the lack of progression or differing progression of the stories. Like I just wasn't feeling it. So like for me, like the every other week thing kind of hurt me now, because now like the only cool thing going on was the big event on Fight TV, Triller TV, you know, whatever we're going to call it. And there isn't a way to maintain, you know, to rebuild that momentum for another couple of weeks. So at least when Fusion was on every week, if Fusion was terrible, you know, hopefully the next week we could rebuild some of that momentum. And now we got to wait a little bit longer, possibly leaving a poor taste in somebody's mouth. And
now we have to wait till February 3rd, which is 2 weeks from now, to see something new.
But again, this is more like sour. Maybe not sour grapes is not the best term, but it's just more of just like a weird rando opinion of a guy who's overlooking and overthinking the product, which is what I pretend to get paid to do. Anyway, let's.
We can pay for this. What?
I mean, I'm not seeing. Okay, I'm not seeing any residuals from my appearances here, but I'm making about a cup of coffee a month off of Con. Oops,
No.
my finances allowed. Anywho, so let's get back on track. Let's talk about this here reload. Featherweights were surprisingly well represented in terms of overall time on the show. And we start off the opening contest with the magnificent Mimi and the Featherette Zeta Steel. What did you think, Muffins?
I actually enjoyed the match. I wouldn't say, and I don't want to be too like crazy about it, but I think this was the first time I've seen Mimi actually look good in the ring. I've always had an issue with Mimi is she looks good, she looks tall enough, and I forget everything else about her. Only that she's a redhead. That's it. That's all I see Mimi as. But this past week, she actually put in a good effort, and I actually like her being part of the featherweight division. You know, hopefully she'll get signed in the future and we see more of her. But so far, I mean, we're definitely seeing a lot of Mimi here. Zeta did what she's supposed to do. I mean, if we knew Zeta was going to win this match to keep her momentum going for the featherweight title. But overall, I really, really enjoyed the match. And, you know, hopefully we get to see more of Mimi, this type of Mimi.
Yeah. I thought the match was kind of clunky. Myself, and I thought it was interesting that they did the heel versus heel dynamic and kind of like tried to out heel each other, but I don't know if it was just two younger workers, or and so there was really no one to lead properly, or if they just, I don't know, sometimes people just don't gel. But like I thought the match was a little clunky in that front, especially when Mimi missed that spin kick.
Yes,
like that, like it wasn't just like, oh, wrestling's fake, missed it. It was like she airballed it. Like Zeta was already like going to the corner when
and they hit it the second time, and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, and like you said, the age definitely has to do something with it. I'm pretty sure I think both of them are under 22, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, you're gonna get what you pay for, and with the youth movement, there's things that you're gonna get with like you mentioned, two younger talent, and no one is leading the other person. So.
Yeah. Well, and as you kind of put it too, like with Mimi, like at least you remember what a Mimi is. Like you may not have been impressed with what she was doing in the ring.
Yes. But
you get like, hey, it's the redhead. Like, so you at least identify her in the future. I mean, that may not be the best way to look at a talent.
Exactly.
But it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Because that's how I remember her from NXT. Sloan Jacobs was the redhead. Yeah. I mean, when she was there and she wrestled in NXT and she had her couple of matches, there was nothing special that jumped out. Okay, why do I remember Mimi for? Like, who was Sloan Jacobs at that time? And there wasn't much of anything else. Okay, it's the redhead. Now that was the only way I remember who she was, because she was just there. There was nothing ever special that grabbed you and go, okay, I remember her now.
Yeah. And again, these are both two young workers. They need to get, and the best way to get better is to get your reps in.
Exactly.
So, and I will also put over like Zeta. Like I really like Zeta. Like like presence, character wise, like she's getting it. And so once she gets in her case, especially once you get some of that experience under the belt and you can like lead things, like once it clicks with her, it's going to click hard. Yeah. Because she's already getting some of that character stuff down. She's got that. She's already got the presence on the mic. And so we're just waiting for the rest of the stuff to fall in place, and that just takes time.
And I like her backstage stuff. They have her do stuff. She's funny. I mean, I like her whole attitude, her acting. I like everything about her. So that's how you stand out more than anybody else, is when us fans can gravitate. Oh, I know, say that. Yeah, say that does this and this and this, and then you go to Mimi and you go like, well, I don't know her, but she's the redhead, the tall redhead. And that's that's kind of bad about it, but yeah.
Fun fact: if you want to stand out and get under her skin, start yelling for Mr. Saint Laurent when you see her at live events, because she'll figure out who you are rather quickly that way. Anywho,
where's the fat guy at?
Exactly. So yeah, moving on from there, we got news coming in for Intimidation Games, which is the end of February. Minoru Suzuki is returning. Angry Murder Grandpa is returning to MLW. I will be happy just to see him back. And I kind of like a sick part of me kind of wants him to fight Love Doug. They've not announced who he's facing yet, but I want to see him take on Love Doug just because they now they do technically have MLW history because Doug got the taste slapped out of his mouth on the street.
Oh god, that's gonna be a total murder if that happens.
Oh, and it'll be the best murder. I love Doug, but like these are also matches that I could live for too.
Yeah.
That being said, there are also a bunch of other veritable dream matches to be had in MLW involving Minoru Suzuki, whether it's the likes of the one called Manders I roll my eyes at, but I think they would gel rather well. Almost any member of WTF I think would be a fun matchup. They have a whole roster of folks that would make for good matches with Suzuki. My quasi joking aside.
Yeah, I think a good match will be him against Riddle.
Yeah, I just avoid talking about him though because I'm a jerk.
Yeah. We can move on. Yes.
But yeah. So Suzuki's coming back, so I'm a fan of it. So great times on that. Our next match, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Muffin. Steph DeLander versus Good Brother number 3, baby. Shaking your head.
I hated
a great match.
I hated this match. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was so lost. I didn't know if it was a match, if they were just doing improv inside the ring.
It was they were living out their fetish. That's what they were doing.
They could have done this as a backstage segment, or pre-taped somewhere else. Yeah, this was just a total waste of anything and everything. Basically, this is the last time we'll see Steph DeLander unless Cardona comes back. But yeah, I never got this. I was so lost. I was so happy when it was over because I was just like, what is going on here?
I was watching it and I'm like, I love this, but I'm sitting there going, man, Muffins is gonna hate this.
Oh god, dude! Like I was so lost. Like I literally, I rewound it a couple of times just okay, what? Because my brain just cannot figure what the hell was going on, so I had to go back and start over again. And I'm like, okay, what is this about again? Like, what's the point of this? Like, I don't get this. So yeah, man, that was horrible. I'm sorry, it was horrible.
Oh no, I knew like it was nothing but shtick, so I knew you were gonna hate it. Like regardless if you thought you got it or not, it was nothing but meta commentary and dare I say a couple living out their fetishes in front of that in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean they took some wrestling time from somebody else. I mean, we could have seen a young tag team or somebody have a good match. Lucky 13 or somebody. Be out there doing something, even if he gets squashed, at least have something important happening. This was not important to anything.
Yeah.
It didn't make no sense. So why?
Yeah, and if I have one complaint about it is that it was almost its own little island. Like it didn't further the Good Brother number 3 WTF feud. It
and it was long.
Yeah. As I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But this is the kind of match that I'm referring to about this is why we need a fusion or weekly television, because you're going to market a special event and you have this, and like this is going to turn off, I would say, probably about 50% of your wrestling audience because it's way too shticky. So I get it. I thought it was entertaining, but then again, I am also a lot of times the lowest common denominator as well. And just the thought of and I enjoyed the concept of Good Brother number 3 doing a striptease, and just like the man said, I am now divorced because that's what happens when Good Brother number 3 does a striptease.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, we have our Clash of Styles Jimmy Lloyd taking on #1 Ichiban. Salina de la Renta made her first proper on-screen appearance for this match as well. Ichiban picks up the win despite the shenanigans, so he's continued looking strong. And then the fallout from this match is that Ichiban does get his match with Azúcar, with Rocky Romero, for the middleweight championship.
Yes, which I think it's time to take the title off Azúcar and give it to Ichiban #1 there. So I definitely see a title switch coming up at the next show. This match was decent. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it that much. But I did like the wrestling aspect of it, and I like the finishing maneuver from the top of the cage, or I'm sorry, the ladder.
You hopped off the ladder and then springboarded off the ropes.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool because his finishing maneuver already looks weird as it does, but this just made it kind of look even weirder. And then you're like, okay, that was kind of cool. So and then all those shenanigans that happened, now getting his title match. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't that great. But I did enjoy it. I'm just so sick of all these hardcore matches, man. You know, ladders just coming out of the blue for no reason at all, and all this kind of shit. I could deal for one match a show. Not every time.
Well, and this is like my pet peeve with one of my pet peeves with MLW and their matchmaking right now too, is that they've never explicitly ever said like we are now, there's no DQs or whatever, or weapons are legal. They've never said that. It's just like occasionally, like randomly, here's a match with chairs. Here's a random match with ladders in it for no discernible reason. Yeah. But that being said, yeah, the match itself was like, if you're going to look at it in a pure wrestling aspect, it was all right, but it did what it was supposed to do. It helped put Ichiban over. He fought through the shenanigans, and we got the next beat of the story. Yes. So we are going to see the next match in that series, in the storyline. So he is going to get his title shot. Of course, Jimmy Lloyd losing this match is also probably going to get a title shot, because that's what Jimmy Lloyd does in MLW. Loses matches, gets a title shot for no good reason. So, Court, I'm still available. I have no wins in MLW too, so I will fight for the wins
and no appearances at the show, but I'll definitely get a title match.
Yeah, I have one less win than Jimmy Lloyd, so I could totally go for the open weight championship, because I have been weight.
You might get it on the May 11th.
I tried to win the tag team titles this weekend, and it didn't work out for me.
Unfortunately, not.
Now, Justice didn't show up. There's some other cowboy. The wife doesn't support me in these endeavors because she wants to take the titles from me, so I can't actually win. I can't win a title because she's just going to 24/7 it off my waist anyway.
There you go. When you're sleeping.
No, you laugh, but she's already said it. We have recorded evidence for those of you at the MLW Confusion Patreon, where we have athome.exe, the Patreon exclusive podcast, which I host with her, and we spent spoiler alert, we spend most of it bickering. Yes, hey, but I have implied that I am going to win a title, and then she's pretty much just said that she's going to beat me for it anyway. Just either 24/7 rules, or as soon as I win it, she's just going to invoke a challenge and take off me, because I am not over the slightest.
And you know what they say? Once you get married, it's 50%. So, but 50% in the middle. She gets hers, you get yours. So once you get it, she's going to get it back from you. It's that simple. Just let it go.
Well, she's more over than I am anyway. So, she should have the title. Following this, we have our TJWP. There we go. Spit it out, Rob. Moku Miyamoto versus Now Kakuna, a special exhibition match. I also didn't think this match was like that great either. I didn't necessarily think our opponents gelled very well together. I think it was a touch on the clunky side, and then personal opinion wise, Moku's spot where she does the karate chop totally fell flat with me. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me a good karate chop, but don't spend 5 minutes
thinking about it.
thinking about it. Like, and if you spend that much time thinking about it and you miss it, like, it makes you look terrible. Or in the case where she actually hit it, it didn't lead to the finish anyway. So you spent like 5 minutes measuring the exact spot you are going to chop your opponent, and it didn't finish him off. Like, did you really measure? Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, this is where you kind of go to yourself and go, okay, there's Stardom Wrestling, all females. There's a bunch of different all other females, and then you have the TJPW promotion, and then you look at the ladies and you go, okay, this is the reason why that match looked like that. There's our young, brand new, maybe been wrestling for a year, maybe two, if that. So, like you said, we're gonna get what you're gonna get. They're gonna get experience as they go, and they did the best they could. It was funky from the beginning, even when they rang the bell and the referee kept going go, and they just kept looking at each other and the referee going like go, and they just kept looking at each other and wait, go, like the bell already rang, let's go. So yeah, but that's I enjoy it because at least we got to see some female wrestling, young future wrestlers that we might not see ever again in the States. We might see them again 10 years from now, in a bigger role, and you go, I remember her from Reload. I watched that on YouTube, and you go like, oh man, she grew now and she's better now. But those are the type of partnerships that you get. I'm still upset that we keep getting people from other promotions here, but you never get to see people from MLW go to other shows to portray there. I mean, why isn't Janai Kai or Delmi Exo having a match in TJPW? And then, we could see it here as one of the part of the shows. Oh, Delmi was just a part of the show. Here's the full match, and you give us the full match. They haven't done that yet with any, except for Asuka, because he already wrestled there.
Yeah, he was already there. Speculation for me, like, again, I'm not backstage by Eastern Convention. I just assume that MLW's booking folks as they're in America rather than it being like an actual full-on partnership. I just assume like, oh hey, Rocky is available in the US these dates, which happen to coincide with our show.
Yes.
Or whatever. Like, don't get me wrong, I think there is some pen to paper ish stuff, because like the official Twitter, like the official social medias of the other companies are referencing this partnership. It's just we're not seeing it, but we're not seeing a talent exchange out of it. It was just Court bringing folks in.
And then they just mentioned the one with the Australia company.
Yeah.
So how is that going to work? Are we going to see guys from Australia coming over? Are we going to send anybody from MLW over there? I would like, if it's going to be a partnership, then make it a partnership. Like, really send some people over for a feud, and let us, tell us what's going on a weekly basis or whatever on your social media. That's what social media is there for. Use it. Right.
Well, maybe we'll get a talent exchange, because after the match, Love Dog got himself a date.
I'm sorry. I was mad about this. I was really upset about this. How do you go from being the fanboy of Becca, the number one pop artist out here, saying that you are his admirer for months and months and months, and now all of a sudden you just drop Becca like that and jump to the other one? Oh, I've been a secret admirer of yours for what? How? You just met her.
That's possible. That's his thing. That he is wrestling's Cupid. He has enough love for everyone. He loves everyone. That's what Love Doug is. Love Doug is love.
Well, at least I was happy that he got a yes. And honestly, I agree with Stryker. I don't think she understood half of the questions that was being asked her. So she might be saying, something else, and he said yes, and they went from there. I hope they kind of pick up where they left off and actually shows an actual date on YouTube.
That would be fun.
On social media, like what happened afterwards. They went out on a date. They went to see Philly. That'll be kind of cool if they do that. Just give us something on social media on just cut it here and there, and we're gonna next tomorrow we'll show you the second part of the date. That would be fun. I mean, I would love to see that.
That would be a lot of fun, and I hope they did do something like that. The wife speculates she said yes just to get a free meal before she went back to Japan. She's just using Doug for free food. Philly's finest cheesesteaks.
There you go. Yeah, it's America. Things are different this time, so she probably is trying to get a free meal before she heads back, because that's a long flight.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Philly cheesesteaks are good, so she might take some for the flight too.
There you go. Following up on our backstage Zeta talks, we had a rather interesting skit with Zeta's things going missing, only to discover the notorious BRG, Brett Ryan Goslin, in the bathroom with Zeta's stuff, like curling his hair and whatever.
Now, isn't this guy supposed to be Becca's boyfriend?
Yeah, and he's going through, like, that was my thing. It's like he is, supposedly hot and heavy with someone else, and now he's just going through some other woman's stuff. Using her stuff for her car to do his hair, and then they're gonna go shopping. Yeah, because it turns out they share the same love of whatever perfume that he had never seen in person before, but Zeta had with her WTF. Becca has been dumped on national TV on back-to-back segments. We haven't seen Becca in months because of house arrest, and now she lost her secret admirer and lost her boyfriend, and she hasn't been there to even say anything about this. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That one just was out in left field. That is not where I thought that segment was going to go. No. For better or for worse. Yes. It was for worse then. Damn. Anything that dicks over Becca is the worst. But speaking of more featherweights, more featherweight action, really short match. Tiara James versus Delmi Exo. I was really surprised how this match turned out. It was almost a squash. James got some offense in and then just got rolled up, and that was it. And I thought, and it was weird because commentary was really putting over James too, and they said she'd never been pinned in MLW, which I don't think is the truth. Yeah, which I don't think. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought, didn't she lose to Becca? Yes, and she lost to a bunch of people. Yeah. And I know a couple the one was a triple threat match, so that only half counts. But they're she's never been pinned, and I'm I think she got pinned in her debut. Yes. But they were really trying to put over James just for her to get rolled up very quick and right next to the ropes. So not only did she lose out of nowhere, she also lost in a way that was 100% preventable. I'm pretty sure she could have grabbed that rope if she really wanted to. And the way that she got rolled up too was kind of weird, because she stopped. She definitely stopped there, and she could have moved away from being rolled up. She could have taken a step forward, and the match could get going. And she just kind of stopped, felt, and looked, and waved her hair like this, and got rolled up. I'm okay, well, I don't know what happened. Yeah, how it happened, almost made me wonder if she got hurt. Somewhere. I don't know. But I haven't heard anything one way or another. But it just really struck me odd is that they were really putting over Tiara as the future of the featherweights, and then they just pin her. And then to make matters worse, I'm a firm believer that wins and losses in and of themselves don't necessarily matter that much, but it's how you frame the wins and their losses. This loss, I felt, hurt Tiara because, one, it was just a flash out of nowhere and it looked totally preventable, and two, unless we're going to see something on social media, which we won't, or at the next event, which is a maybe, there's no follow-up. She just went oh, I lost, and wandered off. And she just kind of looked around and rolled up and whoop. Yeah, there was no you got me this time, but next time, she wasn't allowed any defense, and that is more of a burial than losing a match. As I said, losing a match doesn't necessarily hurt anything. It's the follow up to it, and if there's no follow up, and you look like a chump in the process, like, yeah, that's when it gets hurt. Like this is it's like when Kofi, like, to use the WWE thing, like when Kofi Kingston lost the world championship.
Yes.
Like the fact that he lost to Brock Lesnar by itself wasn't a burial. It wasn't a bad thing. It's Brock Lesnar, for crying out loud. Like, he comes in there, wrecks things, and leaves. That's what he does. The problem is that, like, right after that, Kofi's like, "Hey everyone, I used to be champion. Pancakes." You know, like that. Like, yeah, that's when losses matter. Is when you do stuff like that.
For a while.
Yeah, like that. Like that's when losses, when you make losses look like they don't matter, and it's terrible. But moving from her to Delmi Exo, we had Delmi got on the mic. Yep. She's ready to be back in title contention.
Yes.
And she's back on her winning ways. So, like, she looks like she's broken that losing streak. So it looks like she's ready to go on. Yes. But Janai Kai was ready to be a fighting champion. She gave Delmi the option to pick a date later or go right now.
Yes.
And then, of course, Zeta came out and had words for everybody.
Yes.
And it broke down from there.
I can't believe she called my girl a Smurf bitch. Or a blue bitch, or blue hair bitch. I'm like, oh, hell no. Slap her right now, Salina.
But yeah, so like that broke down really quick. But for me, the most interesting thing actually coming out of this is the Lucha Goons made it to the ring. Our Lucha bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, the old guard of Cesar Duran, gave Delmi a key and a cell phone. So last month, Delmi got an envelope. So we it looks like we got things in motion, because we don't see those guys like front and center terribly often. Like, we've seen them a bunch in the background. Specifically, when Salina de la Renta is on screen, they are usually lurking in the background, or during her matches she's involved in, they will actually, I don't want to say surround, but they will be posted on the other, on each side of the stage.
Yes.
You know, they don't do anything; they just stand there, and so you're like, "Hey, where's Waldo?"
And you've seen them a couple of times in backstage stuff, just standing there, away from the cameras. And it's like, okay, here we go. You know, little sprinkle Azteca lucha.
Yeah, so things are starting to pick up, and obviously, you dropped the phrase Azteca Lucha. Things are moving towards Azteca Lucha, which coincidentally is the name of May's event. So Azteca Lucha for sure is coming back. Yes. We will see what form it will take, and it looks like in some way, shape, or form. Well, we got Mystico is coming in with as part, well, maybe not part of that, but as part of the story, because Salina had no part of him coming in, which upset her, because she is the luchador liaison. And then now we have Delmi Exo getting a cell phone and a key.
And one thing that I liked Delmi also speaking, because I actually got scared when she lost the belt against Janai Kai a couple of months ago, and I thought she was going her way out of the company. So I'm like, please don't let Delmi leave. So, and then she had a couple of, when she lost the triple threat with Tiara James and Becca, I was like, oh no, this is not good. But thank goodness that she's still here. She got to talk, and I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I would be rather not happy if Delmi was leaving, just because, like, I don't like people who hold the championship just to lose the championship, just to leave. Exactly. And I know how contracts work, and like these things happen, but I don't think it's a good look for the company that it basically looks like the person only lost the belt because they were leaving the company, not because someone else was being anointed with the title, which luckily in our at least I will eat crow on this one and am happy to do it, because Delmi kept things moving when Taya was mostly half absent, or we knew she was not with the company because she's appearing on AEW live
every
and whatnot.
It's still taped over here. I'm like, oh Lord, not this again.
But so Delmi's still with us, and it looks like she's going to be figuring into some plans in the future. We'll just have to wait and see what's going on there. Yeah. But speaking of plans and things, we have our tag team match with our fast food breakfast sandwich and our world heavyweight champion, Alex Kane, taking on the World Titan Federation new dream team. They referred to them. I don't think that's another official name, but they called themselves the new dream team in their promo, which I loved. I loved that WTF Tom Lawler, Josh Bishop promo. Just a weird parody of 1980s tag team promos. Yeah. Tell them, and they just kept telling them back and forth. Tell them. It was great. I love it. Which I Tom Lawler is one of my boys. He hasn't acknowledged it yet, but he's one of my boys. And Josh Bishop actually has some personality when he's allowed to show it, which he hasn't really been allowed to show it that much in MLW yet. But he's also kind of a fun guy to watch. But that promo was great. The match, it was a match. The thing is, once again, but I'm going to make the complaint that I've been making pretty much like every time we've had a show, the last like 6 weeks, 2 months, is that when it comes time to have a high profile match, WTF choke.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, not that they can't, especially Tom Lawler, who's talented enough to, turn anything into a pro if he's allowed to either have the microphone or have some screen time. But like, I stress, how many times can you, lose a big match and still have that aura of a threat? Like, they keep trying to make it sound like WTF is a big deal, and it should be a big deal. Again, I stress, WTF should be a big deal just because of the alumni who's walked through that stable in its, 4 months of existence. And what do they have to show for it? Next to nothing. You got a really good... You got a really good Cardona run out of it.
Yeah, I think they've lost every match they've been.
They've picked up wins here or there, but like nothing that's considered. Yeah, nothing that's considered an important match. They've lost every single one of their title matches, and like they've been exclusively like bogarting the title scene for the most part, and nothing. They haven't won the world title. They've gotten at least one shot at the tag team titles. Nothing. Like, they'll win a match here or there. Like, Josh Bishop did technically defeat Matthew Justice in the match. They look, all big and bad like beforehand, like, or after the matches, because they tend to hold their own in brawls, but they don't win the match when they need to.
Well, two things that I liked is Holiday's still there, thank goodness, and Davey Boy Smith Jr. comes back next show, so he's part of WTF. So at least it's another big name, profile name that's back with the group. So hopefully with him being there on Holiday, with Lawler, we might see some different things happening going forward. I hope. and thank goodness that Davey Boy Smith Jr. made it out.
Yeah.
And he's back 100%, and he's back to wrestling. I'm really happy that he's back. So he's definitely going to add some star power to WTF again.
Again, to my point, is WTF doesn't necessarily need the star power. They need success. Yeah. And do I think Davey Boy will win his return match? I do. Then they will have their rematch with Kane, and Kane will beat him. Davey Boy will get his flowers in a match that will mean next to nothing. And then when it comes time for Davey Boy to win the big one, he'll fail too.
Well, they need to push the WTF the same way they did with the Calling.
Exactly.
The same exact way. Let them win the title, tag team title, and one of those, singles, either the middleweight or the open weight, for a month or two or whatever, 3 months, and then, go from there. But, the Calling, they won titles.
Yeah, I mean they held all the men's titles except for the world title.
Yeah.
And while wrecking the backstage area.
Yeah, and we didn't care, like, why are they giving this guy titles? And look how fast that thing folded.
Yeah.
But at least now with Sammy Callahan being there, they become a threat again. So someone serious.
But that's the thing that's bothered me from day one with WTF Like we can joke about like no one really wants to watch MSL, but like I do find a lot of the backstage things mildly entertaining in some way, shape, or form. Of course, again, Tom Lawler will turn anything golden, but like there's been no sizzle to the steak. Like there's like, oh, they're big and bad. No, they aren't. They should be big and bad because of who they've had.
Right. No, you're right. They're big and bad, except the big part is out and they're just bad.
Yeah, which makes me sad because again, like look at that roster, former world champions on that roster, and they can't get a win. You know, they had Hammerstone, they have Lawler, who are both former world heavyweight champions. Davey Boy Smith Jr. Well, he only half counts because he had the bout of diverticulitis before he got to really do much of anything. But like they haven't really turned Bishop loose yet. Cardona failed when it came time to really hammer down. At least he won part of a feud and
he won all his matches except for the main event, the last one that he lost.
But
I mean, the only positive thing about WTF is Zeta.
Yeah,
she's taking in all of her parts, so she's definitely she's taking it all in. Like, this is me. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna kill it as much as I could get it before it ends.
And I will argue the two people that have the most to gain from WTF, like regardless of how it turns out, is going to be Zeta and Bishop. Just because Zeta, well, both of them are really young into their career, but both of them will have the benefit of being around people who've had success in the industry and are currently still like doing very well. Like, I mean, Lawler still does quite well throughout the indies. I assume Holiday's still hitting up the independent circuit despite being back with MLW, but I haven't heard too much. I haven't heard as much coming from him since he came back in terms of the indies, but yeah, so both of them, just being able to hang out with your Tom Lawlers, your Matt Cardonas, etc., is going to be a boon for them if they if they've watched and done their study.
Well, there was one more match left, I believe, right?
Yes. So we have our main event.
Yes.
Satoshi Kojima, #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Champion, taking on Sami Callihan.
The Death Machine.
The Death Machine.
Yes.
What did you think?
I enjoyed the match. I like Sami Callihan's whole vibe. When he goes out there, he knows how to do his job. They hate him. They boo him. He knows what needs to happen to get the crowd against him and get the Kojima, that shine. He did his job. Kojima did his job. He chopped the shit out of him later on in the match, which I loved. And I look forward to seeing Kojima against Kane, even though we know Kane's going to win this match, but that's going to be a nice fight fest, and I want to see Kane's chest after the match.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. Kojima won, so he's getting going in the right foot into 2 weeks show. And Sami Callihan, he lost. This doesn't do anything for me. The man doesn't care if he wins or loses. He just wants to do his job. So this is not a bad thing that he lost. He doesn't care about all that stuff. He just wants to hurt people and just maim, and he'll be happy with that.
Yeah, he kind of advanced the Callings, MO even within the loss, because he took Kojima to that limit. The only thing, and the match did fall just a touch on the flat with me because because Callihan really went for some of the cheaper heat stuff.
Yeah,
and and I said it on the con is that okay, I'm not a big fan of spitting in general. Just even in a scripted environment, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But with anything in life, there is a law of diminishing returns, and just the amount of times Callihan hawked a loogie at something, whether it was the referee, whether it's his own hand, whether it was Kojima. He did it enough times that I just, instead of being oh no, we're on now, it just became dude's gross.
Not again.
Yeah, and like so, like that was like some of my complaint was just like he did certain things like the spitting like entirely too much, and it did bring the match down for me. Like it was a totally serviceable match. Like I was like it didn't like totally turn me off. I'm not a big Callahan. I'm not a Callahan hater. He is kind of hit or miss for me in front of the camera, but but let the guy be on screen as long as it means that he gets to be part of the creative team, because the guy's got a good mind for the business.
I thought he is now.
He is, yeah, he is backstage now, and that for me that's the trade-off of like I will handle Sami Callihan maybe stinking up a segment or two as long as like he's backstage with the book or part of the book, because as long as he's listened to, like he will make things better. It's just sometimes during matches he may bring down the match because again like all the spitting, like I just stopped caring. Like it wasn't a good spot.
That he runs
Pro Wrestling Revolver.
Okay, PRW, yes. PWR, I mean.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, PWR, yes. PWR,
depending on whichever thing you're looking at it. Sometimes it's just WR, sometimes it's the wrestling. Sometimes it's just the Wrestling Revolver. But yeah,
now, that's out of Illinois or Chicago or
its main base is Clive, Iowa, outside of Des Moines.
Okay.
But they are running like rando places. Like they alternate a lot between Iowa and Dayton, Ohio, which is Sammy's home base when he's not out in the Midwest, or I guess Ohio's kind of in the Midwest, but
okay, which means Ohio for killers.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But they're doing a show in Texas. They've done a couple of shows, I think, in Cali, and then like they tend to do a show wherever WrestleMania happens to be. Like every other indie.
I think I saw them like team with somebody else.
Yeah. And if you have Triller TV and Triller Plus, you can actually watch Revolver too and get caught up on things. Like they do run a good show, and it's definitely like the definition of circus wrestling. And I don't mean this is a bad thing, because I think a good wrestling company is like a circus, because if you don't like the jugglers, there's the trapeze artists. If you don't like the trapeze artists, there's the clowns. If you don't like the clowns, here's the lion tamers. And I feel like that I think that's the best analogy for good wrestling. They run the full gamut of wrestling styles, because they'll bring in some flippy flop guys. The Gringo Loco hangs out there quite a bit. They're bringing in Ares for their next their show in Texas. They have the deathmatch guys in there, or guys that do a lot of deathmatch type stuff. Jake Chris, Alex Colon, and then to a lesser extent the Second Gear crew, who do a lot of Mance specifically does a lot of deathmatchy stuff. Manders is more hardcore brawly, but he will do some deathmatch adjacent type of matches. And of course, Matthew Justice is happy as long as he jumps off things. But they have what's left of the Rascals. They come in quite a bit. Masha Slamovich, who's a very good technical wrestler when she's not doing some deathmatch stuff. Like they're all over the place in terms of,
I'm surprised about her. Like she's a good technical wrestler, but you see her do a lot of death matches.
Well, those are the best deathmatch wrestlers, because they understand. Like I feel like they understand wrestling psychology, and so death matches don't have to be like for the garbage wrestlers. Like it's an art form. Like it's just you got to have people who aren't garbage doing it, and that's kind of the problem.
With a light bulb, it's an art form.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Whatever, man. You lost me on that one. I do not agree on that one, but yeah.
It has its place. Do I think it should be all the time? No.
Yeah.
But again, there's a big difference on who's swinging that light tube as well. Because Akira, I'll look at in MLW, Akira. Akira is a guy that I can watch deathmatch all the time, because he's good. He knows what he's doing. He can do creative spots, safe creative spots for the most part. And everything makes sense within this context. He's not one of those garbage guys who just come in and just swings every light tube known to man, or like, oh, I don't know what to do, so here's a weed whacker, cut me, bro. Like he's not one of those, and neither is Masha, so they have guys that know what they're doing with the deathmatch stuff. Like, so I mean,
and she's young too. I think she's like 22. 23 and she's doing shit like that, man. I don't know, man. I'm like, whoa, you're too young for that.
But yeah, so like, yeah, Revolver. You know, if you guys have Triller Plus, cheap plug for them. I'm not being paid for it because no one pays me for anything really.
No.
But Revolver does do a good show, and like actually, when I went in September this past year, had what was labeled the funnest match ever. Which I don't know. You'll either love it or you'll hate it, Muffins. There's going to be no in between. You're not going to be like meh. You're either going to be like, that is hilarious, I love it, or you're going to be like, that is utter bullshit and it shouldn't be in a wrestling ring. But it was Matthew Palmer, who's kind of like a half comedic guy in Revolver. He's actually based out of Texas. He owns Metroplex Wrestling in Texas. So if you've heard of that. I've not watched any of their shows, but I just know he runs that. But he's professional wrestling's Monster Hunter. So he's kind of like almost like a D&D character kind of come to life. Dan the Dad, who's a Midwestern worker whose gimmick is he's your father's favorite wrestler. Yes. And it's one of my favorite autographs when I got his 8x10 because he's proud of me. And a rare indie appearance of Tyler Breeze. But it was labeled as the funnest match ever, and it was all the shtick, all the stupid stuff. Like, as a pure wrestling match, it's garbage, but it's just, for me, it was just so bloody entertaining. And so, like, Muffin, you'll either, if it's Revolver Redacted, if you have Fight Plus. Okay. And that match, like, I loved it, but you'll either love it or you'll hate it because it's so much shtick. There's so much shtick involved because they're all quasi-comedic wrestlers. You know, Dan will do his thing where he's hopping around with his mug. Yep. And Palmer's doing his weird D&D cosplay stuff, and the cosplay gets even weirder for that that thing too. But yeah, we're getting way off topic on that. But yeah, so Sammy Callahan's company. So like he does run a good. He's got a good backstage mind. But actually, the thing that caught me out of all this, I don't know if you saw it. I rewinded it. But just as we're getting ready to go into our, we'll call it exit video package, hyping up the next event, the Black Flag appeared for like 3 frames. Ladies and gentlemen, if MLW is not being overrun enough,
yes,
between WTF, The Calling, and Promociones Dorado, the Black Flag of Contra appeared on screen, and I am curious to what's going on here because Jacob Fatu, like on Twitter, kind of implied that his next match is going to be his last. Again, vague posting.
Well, does it mean he's saying goodbye to Philly because they're finally leaving Philly and going out into the real world away from Philly? Or is it his last match? See, I saw it 2 different ways.
See, I figured it was his last MLW match, but then the Contra Flag happened. So part of me wonders if this is goodbye, handshaking, baby kissing Fatu.
Yes.
And the return
the monster
of the monster, the werewolf. The guy who ran roughshod over the wall, the roster, because let's face it, Jacob Fatu, happy-go-lucky, make a difference Fatu with an edge to him, hasn't had that much success outside of a brief run with the Openweight Championship.
Well, and also since my arch nemesis Josef Samael left, and last time we saw him, he was in the trunk of a car getting somewhere to a different country. Jacob's Fatu has not been the same since that happened. So I know I told Chef, and Chef kind of got happy when I told him about the Black Hand of Contra little thing. So hey, a lot of things changes, but two years after, almost 3 years, it makes sense. But where is this all going to fit with?
Yeah,
they are very. And then you got, lucha. This is gonna be crazy if whatever happens.
Yeah, and I'm just curious of like what we're gonna see like out of this return to Contra. Is Samael coming back? Are we getting like a new Contra, like or like they'll have like, is it Fatu and a batch of newbies, or is Mads Kruger, the former Cruel, coming back? Because the last time we saw him, he got his face half blown off, and then he was handed a new mask, which is now what he wears on the indies.
And I still see him in the indies as Cruel.
And, he's been making a name for himself on the indies as well. And Cruel considered himself like the last bastion of Contra. So is he on his way back? Which I always felt he kind of got a raw deal in MLW. He's one of those guys who had all this potential, and despite being prominently featured, really didn't get to do much of anything. Like he had a couple of banger matches, but a lot of his matches just like they were meant more for story than they were anything else, and so they were just kind of like tapered off.
Did he ever win a title?
No.
Okay. So maybe it's time that he comes back. He's the leader with a new badge, and he finally, becomes the champion of the company. I mean, damn, you're actually selling toys, those
with him on it,
ballers with him after he left. So might as well at least start selling some stuff of people that are actually here. Like every damn toy they sold is of people who are no longer there.
I laugh so hard every time I see a toy commercial for MLW because the only person still with the company is Fatu. Every other person left.
Before the toy even came out.
Like, and some people I don't even know why they bothered. Like Killer Cross.
Yes.
like he's like never had he has had like 2 matches in MLW. Like he's only had like 2 MLW matches in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think it was 1 or 2 the last time he was here. And then
he had like 1 match. They hyped another match, and then he fell a victim to the Calling back when the Calling was just an off-screen.
And then we saw
just I called them the calling card killers because all you saw was unconscious bodies with the card on them.
Yeah, the career killers. Okay, here's the card. Go to WWE or go to AEW.
Yeah, and
this is your pass to get out. Whoop.
So
like basically everybody who got a pass on them a card, they're no longer there, which is crazy.
Yeah, and just for like every toy to just be guys that aren't in the company for some for whatever reason.
Even the little midget got a toy.
Yeah, like it's a terrible. It doesn't even look like him.
Yes.
It's not even. It doesn't even look like Microman. It doesn't have the singlet. It's not the right mask.
I don't know, man.
Like I think they just tried to rush a toy and then they let him go anyway.
Yeah,
but
and thank God I was happy about that one, so I didn't care about that one. Get him out of here. Sick and tired of them do.
But yeah, so I'm curious to see what's going on with Contra. Like for me, that is one of the little things that saved this event for me, because for my humble opinion, Reload didn't do a whole lot for me. I felt the matches were for the most part meh. Like they weren't terrible, like they weren't garbage matches, they weren't duds, but they were just like a bunch of like 2-star matches that didn't seem to have that also didn't necessarily help further any stories either. That's the secondary thing. Like this is kind of why you need to have like a fusion, because I feel like you don't want to hype up an event and then have it be no offense really truly intended, because it's not as bad as I make it sound, but like as mediocre and meh as this you could have had 3 episodes of fusion and it wouldn't have it would have softened.
And next week for leading up for the Saturday show.
Yeah. And it would have softened the blow, but instead you're hyping this up as like a premium event. Yeah. And it was
free.
Yeah, as a freemium event. But like they're hyping it as this a big deal, and then we have a bunch of like 2-star matches that didn't further any stories, really. But yeah. But we've beaten that horse to near death.
Come here, Mr. Ed.
And if we're being too negative, that's why we have a comment section. So of course, hit that thumbs up, get those noties. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Tell me how I am too negative, and leave a comment about how cute Muffins is. Run the gamut of things. Praise Muffins, poop on me. That's what we do around here.
Yes, poop on him, not on me.
Leave Muffins alone. Direct all your hatred to me. and
Leave me
all that
alone.
good stuff. But again, like in all seriousness, yeah, it helps the algorithm if you hit like and leave a comment. So it helps broaden the horizons and allow more people to see this and give our very real takes about MLW and whatever else that happens across our minds, like giving a rave review to Pro Wrestling Revolver. Or whatever. But yeah, so hit all those things. Follow the socials scrolling down at the bottom. Urban Wrestle NW, anywhere you get your socials. I'm at the Nova of Cass, as it is on my screen. I am the host of MLW Confusion. That podcast is found anywhere you get your audio podcasts. Sometimes I tweet about things that aren't wrestling related. I'm on Blue Sky for some odd reason. That's also at the Nova of Cass. Follow Muffins. Muffins is a bit more real talk and less Dada-esque than I am. And of course, once February hits up, check out 10 Pounds of Pod. That is making its return. In the meanwhile, if you've missed any old episodes from the YouTubes, you can get them in audio format now too, if that is your preference. Because let's face it, like you can only look at whatever random autograph I have behind me so many times each week. You can only guess which indie wrestler shirt I'm going to wear each week. And, Muffins is just going to wear Astros and Rocket stuff every week too. So it might be better to catch things on the Spotify. I don't know. If that's your bag, that's your bag, man. But yeah, so hit us up on the socials, follow us on the socials. We're sometimes just as entertaining there. In the meanwhile, like, comment, subscribe. I think we've covered all that good stuff. So I guess it's 2 weeks then, because that's what MLW is doing. So in the meanwhile, we out.
Deuces!